Hi, friends. I'm Lauren.
And I'm Katie, and welcome to Okay, But Did You Know? A podcast where we talk about the TV and media that we love with a friend who's never seen it before.
Today, we're recapping and chatting about Once Upon a Time, episode 310, The New Neverland. This episode aired on December 8th, 2013. It was written by Andrew Chambliss and was directed by Ron Underwood. Now, before we get into our recapping and chatting and chaos, and this one will be chaotic mainly because there wasn't a break for you guys, but we are just getting back to recording after 3 weeks because Katie finally got her internet back after Hurricane Helene. So you won't be hearing this until the last week of December, but
it's been a year.
It's been a time. So we're very excited to get back to chatting and chaos and getting Katie through 3A.
Finally.
So before we get to all of that, here is a synopsis for The New Neverland. In the Enchanted Forest. Fresh off of their wedding and the evil queen's threat, Snow and Charming embark for their honeymoon. Charming is hoping some time together will help clear their heads and allow them to enjoy themselves for a little while. But Snow has other plans. Their destination is near a lair where a fearsome creature named Medusa is rumored to live. Snow plans to use Medusa to bring an end to Regina, but when they go to capture it, Charming is attacked and frozen to stone. After Snow captures the creature, Charming is released, and she admits why she really wanted Medusa. She wanted to ensure the safety of the family she wants to build with Charming. And in Storybrooke, everyone is settling in after their adventures in Neverland. Rumple creates the antidote for Charming's dreamshade poisoning. Hook decides to back off and give Emma and Neil a fighting chance to be a family for their son. But Emma can't shake the feeling Henry is acting strangely. Regina, being blinded by her son seeming to want her to be his mother again, misses the signs. By the time Emma has figured out the switch, the shadow has already been loosed and had gone after the Blue Fairy. Meanwhile, Pan, enjoying the freedoms of Storybrooke, tricks Regina into bringing him to her vault. Once he's able to knock her out, he gathers the ingredients he needs to cast the dark curse and trap everyone in Storybrooke, frozen in time and under his control. So this is an episode that exists.
It is.
Yeah.
It is an episode that exists.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was something about being back in Storybrooke that made me really happy, though. It felt nice to not be in Neverland, especially after coming back after Helene. I was like, okay, we're back in. I feel cozy almost. We're in Storybrooke again.
Yeah, we're back in normalcy because this is the first synopsis that's been Enchanted Forest and Storybrooke in a very long time.
Very long time. I loved Ariel getting her happy ending right there at the beginning.
Belle was a much better wingwoman than Snow.
So much better. Snow. Does Snow have impulse control?
No.
None whatsoever.
Well,
She's
this is why
4-year-old.
This is why we make the joke every time they ask her, Snow, can you keep a secret? No, the answer is absolutely no, she can't.
And then I just went, is that Medusa in the opening credits thingy? Like,
yes.
I pinpointed that real fast. I was like, that's a Gorgon.
That is in fact a Gorgon.
So I got excited for that prematurely.
I'm okay with the fact that she's just a monster, not an actual character, because she's quite literally just there as a plot device.
Purely the CGI on that one. I was like, man, she was done dirty.
But the set looked really cool.
The set was really cool.
It was a very because at first they call it a cave, but it's more like a lair. Like it's like a building. Yeah. It's not like just caves. So I was like, it's a very well decorated cave.
Back to the fact that it looked like a temple.
Yeah.
And it brought me back to like the actual story of Medusa. And I thought they did really, really well with the set. I was just sad that the CGI looked the way that it did. Like, I accept that the CGI is the way it was at that time period. Mm-hmm. But for such a good set, I was like, if she could just be slightly better.
Yeah, it always comes back to the fact of the CGI team gets the same amount of time as like the practical production team, mm-hmm. in that they get about 8 to 9 days to build this. And that's just not enough time for the quality that we would want to see out of the moving CGI. Yeah. Like the fireballs are usually pretty good. Like the magic smoke and all like that kind of CGI is usually pretty good because it's more or less, once you have it going, it's kind of stationary with a little bit of movement. The sets are gorgeous. I always say this. Their standing virtual sets are always beautiful. Mm-hmm. It's the moving CGI that like 8 to 9 days is just not enough time.
No, like for dragons and monsters and things, it's not enough time to put that all together. I typed, yes, give Regina her credit. And then immediately I typed that just before the flashback. Like I typed that Flashback. I was like,
Yep.
oops. Still love her.
Oh, yeah.
I wrote that the statement necklaces of the 2000s made it into this because Snow in her wedding outfit and all she's got is this massive necklace on.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that is a statement necklace.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
That's exactly what this is.
Who amongst us did not have that in 2013? Oh, really?
It didn't really make its way into alternative style as much.
Okay, that's fair.
I'm going to be honest. Like, it just wasn't really a thing for us. Now, the chokers, the year of the chokers,
yeah,
I want to say like 2016, 2017. Of course, I jumped right back into chokers. But like statement necklaces, I wasn't a huge fan of, but I was still wearing, like skinny jeans, Converse, band tees. So it just wasn't really, if I dressed up, it was a black dress at most. So I don't think it really, but the heels did. The heels of the early 2000s did hit us too, though, because we got some really interesting heels also in the alternative community. So, but we tend to be a little bit more on the interesting side.
Yeah.
But no, like I think it's funny when I see a lot of the people that make content based off of early 2000s style, and I see them because it pops up for me still because I'm a millennial. But I'm always sitting here like I can't relate. You couldn't find me stepping foot into an Aeropostale. You couldn't. I was literally in my mall growing up. It's still this way. Aeropostale and Hot Topic are directly across from each other.
Oh, same.
So like, no, I was across the way. I never went to Aeropostale.
Yeah.
You couldn't find me in Abercrombie and Fitch. So I just never dressed like that. So I don't relate to it a lot.
Yeah, I was not an Abercrombie and Fitch or Hollister person. I was very much Aeropostale was mine. At least like until like I was like 15, 16, and then I think at that point I started switching to Old Navy mostly.
I hit like 11 and Hot Topic or bust. And then
that's fair.
To the point my grandmother would, because it's when they still played metal music in the store. Now I'll walk in and like Disney tunes are playing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is not the same Hot Topic. And I always get that mentality too sometimes when someone's like, can I help you? And I'll just have that Ron Swanson moment of like, I know more than you. It's so bad.
The Ron Swanson of Hot Topic.
Exactly. But my grandmother growing up, she would let me shop from there. I had to go in by myself and she would wait outside the door until it was time to check out. She was like, that store is too scary. And I'm like, okay, Grandma.
It's fair.
And now my kids love going in there. It's so funny. I loved Leroy's line of thin masonry.
Yep.
I love Leroy.
I know.
I really should. I latched onto the wrong character. Only for me then to say Hook is in fact devilishly handsome.
Yeah. No, let his parents have a fair shot with a devilishly handsome pirate standing in the way. You serious? Yeah. I am devilishly handsome.
I don't know if this is an unpopular opinion within this fandom, since I'm still new to the fandom. I don't like the Blue Fairy.
No, that's not unpopular.
Okay. I didn't know if it would be or not. I don't like her.
It's another case of I really like Keegan Connor Tracy. I don't care for and this is a case of my like of the actor does not translate to liking of the character. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But like it's a case of like the character seems to be kind of written all over the place. Because like even she thought like there was going to be this big reveal that Blue is going to be like behind things all the time because she just seems to be like so morally superior. You got to know she's doing something behind the scenes, but she's just not.
She's just annoying. She's just mean. And
pretty
I'm like,
much.
That's not how this is supposed to work. You're a fair, like, she can't be all high and mighty towards Tink and then act the way she does. It just doesn't,
no, it doesn't translate.
It doesn't translate. Charming is a smart man. Like, I really went from going on and on and on. He is an idiot. He's getting on my nerves. Why is he so dumb? To like, damn it, Charming, like, did the cure also cure your stupidity? Like, what is going on here?
Did you cure your stupidity?
I think I broke you.
I think so. That was good.
You're welcome. Well, I mean, I'm right, though, because he took the cure, and next time he's like, wait a minute, she's not here. I'm going to go figure this out. And then he does what he does.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting here.
I wrote down what he says to her. He's like, there's more to life than looking for the next fight. You got to look for the moments. Life is made up of moments. Good ones, bad ones, they're all worth living. But like he does this very profound thing that like gets her to kind of like think about what it is that she's doing and then ends it with, you sure you don't have other reasons for pushing me toward Neil? Like what?
I wrote that down.
I don't know. Keeping me away from Hook? You think I'm interested in Hook? Emma, I'm a married man. Like there's a dichotomy here. Like that is absolutely Andrew Chambliss apparently shipping Captain Charming.
Oh, it is 100%. I wouldn't be surprised if he was like, "Hey, I want to do this."
I would honestly also not be surprised if Josh just asked, "Hey, can we throw this in?"
Like, please,
because like that is so much. That is so much just their friendship on screen.
I didn't know how to feel about Charming and Snow's honeymoon suddenly being hunting Medusa. I was like, okay, that's a honeymoon.
Yeah, they really. It's right. Well, our burger of the week is the new Neverland burger. Comes with an eventful honeymoon because I would say it's fairly eventful.
It's eventful.
They both have their ulterior motives for being there. He has more honeymoon aligned ideas in mind, and her not so much. But you know, I think I also wrote this one down. I fell in love with you on a troll bridge after you robbed me and hit me over the head with a rock. I knew what I was getting myself into.
Yeah, that was a good one.
It's very on brand for them.
So I would have been a lot happier with, that Henry went with Regina and like that was happening if it weren't Pan. Like you give us this beautiful moment and it's Pan.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I completely understand her not seeing it. Anybody who's like, oh, Emma saw it. I understand her not seeing it because she hasn't had Henry in so long, everything that's been going on. And then suddenly it's, I want to be with mom.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to see past that either.
No, it's the same. It's like same thing with what happened at what I said in Save Henry when like she's tucking him in before the switch happens. She hasn't had these moments where he wants her to be his mom in at least a year to 2 years, if not more. We don't know. We like, okay, that's not true. We do know when he started to pull away. We don't exactly know like the exact timing of it. It's very close to the pilot, but there's some leeway there.
I mean, puberty's hitting this kid hard right now too, and it's so funny.
But it works so well for him having to pretend to be Pan. It works so well that Jared's voice is starting to drop. It was very well timed. I think someone asked him, like, did they start doing that? Because I noticed it. He went, no, I think it was just coincidental. I don't think it was planned with anything.
Puberty just went now. Now basically is the time.
Mm-hmm. But I loved Regina's line of maybe you can use that gut feeling to find the shadow instead of obsessing over who's going to comfort our son. Because, like, I say this all the time. Emma's superpower is the boy who cries wolf. She's wrong so much. And the issue is, when she's right, no one believes her. That's the fairy tale she is.
That's the fairy tale she is, wholeheartedly.
She's the boy who cried wolf.
Crazy. I did write, please don't shoot Henry. I was like, don't shoot Henry. Please don't shoot Henry. Because then this entire show is ruined.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're not going to shoot the kid.
Apologizing? Like, he's been showing growth, and I'm scared.
I would be scared right now, honestly. Him showing growth is never a good sign for anybody.
No, I'm like, this isn't right. This isn't going to last. It can't last. I don't, nope.
I'm saying nothing. I did love Henry's line, though, of like, since he's still in my body, like, if you're going to throw a fireball, can you please like avoid the face?
I wrote it down.
But here's the thing.
When we find Pan, remember, he's still in my body. So if you have to throw a fireball or something, at least avoid my face. And he just goes, I'll do my best.
I love that line. And I think it only works because it's Robbie K. Like delivering it. Because it doesn't really sound like something that would come out of Henry's mouth.
It really doesn't. That was interesting.
That's one case of I don't necessarily know if it's the writing or if it's the acting. I'm not sure. This is my hot take, which people can agree with me or not agree with me. I think Jared does a better job at being Pan in Henry's body than Robbie K does at being Henry in Pan's body. I think.
I agree.
I think Jared. I don't know if it's just the fact of it's easier to kind of go really dark for Jared, like from the way that he's been doing it, or because he's been watching these great villains for the past couple of years, so he's pretty good into delving into that. And Robbie K is still on the newer side, or maybe it's the fact of the accents just don't. It's the fact that the accent stayed with the body.
He still keeps some of Pan's mannerisms.
He does. I think Jared, I think this is in our Curse of the Body Snatchers. I think Jared just does he does a better job at selling that it's really Pan's spirit in Henry's body versus Robbie and Henry. That's listeners, feel free to disagree with me. I think Jared sells it better.
No, I think I agree with that. I mean, it's child acting. There are
Oh, yeah.
people there are kids out there that they're just amazing. They know
Mhm.
exactly what they're doing. They're phenomenal. I mean, Dakota Fanning and all the things that she did as a child. Like,
Mhm.
we have, what's the other girl that plays young Snow?
Bailey Madison.
Bailey Madison. Thank you. Her alone, she does a phenomenal job in everything she's in.
We know how much research she does.
How exactly? So, but we can't expect that from every child actor because every kid's different.
Yeah, every kid's different. And like we'll see McKenna Grace plays young Emma.
Mm-hmm.
She plays young versions of actors like that. That's her entire like childhood is playing young versions of other actors. And she does it so well.
Oh, I'm excited to see that.
It's like she plays young Emma really well. We're going to see two versions of Emma. We're going to see her as McKenna Grace, and we're going to see another actor that's Emma around the age of, I think, 13, 14-ish.
Okay.
I think that actor's name is Abby Ross. They both do a great job for Emma at that time period.
I'm excited to see
like
young Emma.
Jared does a great job. People really do like critique his acting. Like he's a kid.
Yeah. And that's why I say what I said. Like every kid has a different level of acting.
And he sells the things that he sells what he needs to. Like, and he's not trying to be any other. This is one case where he is trying to be someone that he isn't. But I think for being Henry, I think he does a great job. And I think the important thing for his character is that we see the relationship between Henry and his family.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what Jared really gets really well, is getting that relationship and that connection between the other actors.
Yeah. He's great. I like Jared. I love that we started this podcast. You're like, I can't be angry for a kid being a kid, and gushing over Jared right now, and I love it.
He's good. And I mean, at this point, he's a grown man. So he's okay. So I have some fun facts for this one. For those who don't know, I guess I can put in a link for a Medusa thing. Medusa is a monster story from Greek mythology. Sometimes she's a priestess turned into this. Sometimes she isn't. Their version is just strictly the Gorgon, not the person she also is. She can turn people into stone, and she gets defeated by Perseus. That's the story.
I mean, I read Percy Jackson. That was different.
It was a little different.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit different.
If it just means we're getting closer to the end of Pan.
Yeah, we are. We are getting so close to the end of Pan. You have one more episode, and then his arc is done. And then you see him, I don't want to say maybe once or twice. I think he's probably in maybe 2 episodes of season 5. And then I don't think you see him ever again.
I'm okay with this.
I know you are. So this episode is the first time, I believe, that Andrew Chambliss is the sole writer on the episode. So far, it's mostly been him and Ian Goldberg or Linda Vasquez. This time is just him.
Interesting.
So, good job, Andrew. When Pan is looking through Henry's storybook, when Emma first gives it to him, and like we see like the images. I like when the images kind of like go right into what we'd seen, or vice versa. Like we go from like the flashback into the picture in the storybook.
Mm-hmm.
I like that personally. When he's looking, we see an illustration that is by the famous English book illustrator Arthur Rackham. It's The Paradise of Children, which is a watercolor painting from 1922 that was based on a drawing of the same name from a 1922 edition of Nathaniel Hawthorne's children's book, A Wonder Book for Girls and Boys. And it depicts a scene from the story Paradise of the Children. So that's sometimes they use actual pictures. Next to the illustration of the Heart Vault, there's an excerpt that depicts exactly the scene from the wedding scene from the pilot with the dialogue. That's all correct. We do see that Charming still has his sword in the war room scene. Mm-hmm. When we do flashback, that is a continuity error because from the beginning, from the pilot and 102, we do see that the sword went with the queen, but maybe he just has others that look the same. We can go with that. And the international titles, again, they are technically all the same, except German, for whatever reason, phrased it as a question. And they called it Pan. It was Pan's New Neverland? ? So I don't fully understand that part.
Okay.
Yeah. This is a continuity part that I really like. It's the mirror on the wall when we're in her vault, and you can see the main chamber. There's the mirror on the wall that didn't used to be there, but now it is, and we know that it's that white room that we never see again.
Oh. Yeah.
But that mirror will always be there. That's a continuity thing that I really enjoy from this episode,
But
that it stays there.
that room.
It's a very pretty room. We just never see it again. It's a shame
Isn't
that they
one
built
that I compared to, isn't the one I was like, I compared it to a Charming Charlie.
Yes. My first note that I highlighted, I just love this. When Pan Henry, I don't know how else to describe this. The very beginning, when he does the thing about Felix needing to be punished for not believing in him, and he calls over his parents, Regina turns her head when Henry says dad.
I know who wears the pants in this relationship.
In that co-parenting relationship, there's a very clear person there, which is very funny because that's like the opposite of most fan fictions. But I just found that very funny that Regina was the one that I mean, so Neil came over also, but I did find that I was like, that's just hilarious. He's like, that's just the things that I find funny. So I did like, and we said before, Killian's line of, I'll let his parents have a fair shot, without a devilishly handsome pirate standing in the way. This is a side of Killian that is a little lovesick, but I still like in that he's an honorable man. He sees that there may be interest on both sides, and knowing his backstory that I know of him, he would want a family to be together if the family wants to be together.
Yeah.
Like that's always his thing. His family is still very important to him. So, I give both of the men credit that they are in the right energy of like, I'll back off if you want me to kind of thing. Like Neil's like, when she's like, don't ask me on a date. It's not going to go the way you want it to. He's like, okay, tomorrow I'm going to be hungry. I'm going to be in that booth. If you also are hungry and want to come by, you let me know. And if you're not, then I know where we stand. Like that's a good way to be in this situation. I still don't ship Swanfire. I think too much has happened there, but it's still
the whole like abandonment in prison thing. Just
there's too much history there. There's too much. I mean, there's the age gap of their physical bodies. That was phrased badly. The age gap of like the characters ish, because as we established, I think Neil was meant to be in his early 20s.
Sorry, you said that the gap of, I know you said age gap, but gap of physical bodies, and all I could hear in my brain is from like my childhood. Leave room for Jesus.
They did not leave room for Jesus. No, they did not. But like, so Neil figure, based off of what we know, Neil, the persona of Neil Cassidy, he's supposed to be like in his early 20s when he met Emma. She's 16. Nope. That's not great.
Nope.
We're leaving out the fact that he's actually like 200, but because that wouldn't be an issue.
And that doesn't make it any better.
Like if they met when Emma was over the age of 25 and he was still over 200, then that wouldn't be an issue. Because like when it's like a fantasy age gap,
a good age.
Well, because 25 is when the brain develops. That's why that's my threshold.
See, and that's what I say about my age gap between myself and my husband. I was 25 when I met him. He was 34, which is not a bad gap. I know some people are like, that's almost 10 years. It's not that bad.
I mean, it's fine.
We have moments where I'm like, hey, when I was like literally in diapers, you were already, almost to middle school, but
it's fine. Everything's fine.
We try not to think about those things. We didn't meet until I was 25 years old.
That's the important thing. But yeah, so if they'd met when Emma was like 25 and he was like 250, that'd be one thing. Because like I've seen other people say this. They're like the fantasy age gaps that would like never happen in real life when it's an immortal vampire. I mean, maybe not a teenager, but like someone who's like an adult with a fully developed brain. Whatever, it is what it is. Yeah. It's like when they're Twilight. Like, yeah. Like that's why in my fall anthology story, my main character is 25. Like the dragon might be 500. She's 25. That's important. She can make her own decisions, but maybe not like 24 and 16. Maybe that's a little That's actually, I think, extremely illegal.
Where's the red flag guy? Where's the red flag guy?
The red flag guy. It's like someone, I think there was a sound one time that was like, I put all these numbers into a calculator and they came back as 911.
Damn.
Like, that's definitely not correct. But as we've established, despite the fact that the writers apparently did have a timeline, they did not pay attention to how aging works if your main character is 28 when her child is already 10.
No, they
didn't. Maybe you pay attention to that. I'm going to gush about Fairy Queen for a little bit because the two of them, there's such little of them, but it's so good. And you can't, like, Regina just going, her name is Tinkerbell after she calls her green. I'm like, yes, Regina, stand up for your girlfriend. Like,
Which is so funny because this is like meeting Tinkerbell in this has like blossomed a love for Rose for me. And I know how much you love Lana, and I love Lana, don't get me wrong, but Rose, I love her. I mean, I watched I watched all of iZombie because of Tinkerbell.
Yes, you did.
And now I've started Ghost. What else is she in? Like
all of the Christmas
Lana,
Prince movies.
Oh fuck! Don't make me watch those. Oh no!
You could also watch Eddie's $1 Million Cook-Off. She's in that one.
Wait, that's her?
Yeah.
My love goes back farther than I realized.
That's my favorite DCOM.
I think I said that movie.
It's my favorite DCOM.
That's one of my favorites. I didn't know that was her.
That's Rose.
I watched that as a teenager. That's still not creepy. I'm good.
Yeah, you're fine. Well, like you said, it's just like it is with me and Lana. I'm like, currently, like, let's be fair here. I started watching Rivals specifically because Victoria Smurfett is in it.
Yes.
And also it just looked really good. And now I'm just like glued to the screen. And now I'm like, should I read the book? Sure, it's 24-hour audiobook. It's fine. Everything's fine.
Oh, that's it?
That's long. I mean, okay, for me, that's long.
That's fair.
I'm aware you read epic fantasy. I'm aware you've read longer audiobooks. I too have read longer audiobooks, but like on average, my audiobooks, I would say the longest they usually are before I speed them up is 12 hours. Yeah. 12 is not usually what they're at once I get them to my speed.
Which is so funny because then I'll start like one of your little romances that you get me to read, which I love.
They're like one-day reads.
They're one-day reads. I literally will start them and go, okay, this is really slow. And next thing you know, I'm reading it over 2 times. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to finish this like 5-hour audiobook in like 2 hours.
Yeah.
I read a book. And then my husband will come home and be like, all right, what'd you do today? And I'm like, I finished a whole book and cleaned like half the house. It's always the look of, how did you finish one book already?
Well, that happened to me. I was reading one of the memoirs of one of the Peloton instructors because my brother has read a couple of those and he recommended, and one of them I found on Libby for immediately. And it was 6 hours, which is like for a memoir. That's about what you expect for a memoir. And so I listened to it at my usual speed because it was kind of a slow day at work and I was doing like more data entry stuff. So I listened to a book while I worked. I listened to it while I went and ran errands. And then I saw him. So he made the recommendation, like say Sunday. I saw him again Friday. And I was like, oh, I read that book the other day. He went, what do you mean you read it the other day? I was like, I read it. He's like, in one day? I'm like, it's a 6-hour audiobook at my speed. It only took 3 hours. Like, are you okay? No. No, I'm not. The answer is no.
We're not okay.
We're emphatically not okay.
So I've been reading some horror books lately too, and horror books do not tend to be very long. They're like romance books. They're pretty short. The amount of horror books I've read recently, and like, man, just took a day.
Yeah. If it's a good story, why not? Like, if it keeps you interested, that's all that matters.
Like, it's in my ear. I can parent and listen at the same time.
Yeah. No, it's funny that before you mentioned Percy Jackson with Medusa, because I wrote down when Snow finally tells him like what the plan with everything is, and she said, and he's like, and how do you plan on using Medusa to defeat Regina? By cutting off her head. And what? Sending it to her in a box, and I wrote, hey, it worked for Percy Jackson.
It did work for Percy Jackson.
It did work for Percy. But I love the flashback of, I mean, I know it is in fact a very eventful honeymoon. The flashback, it serves to show how well Snow and Charming know each other. This is a flashback that, like, for the most part, doesn't add a whole lot to our current timeline story. Like, for the most part, I would say our flashbacks this season have mostly given a lot of really important context for what's going on in our current timeline. And that will be a trend going forward. Like, rather than like focusing, like the past 2 seasons for the most part, focus more or less on the flashbacks of one central story. Yeah. We were focusing on the flashbacks of Snow White and, Snow White and Prince Charming getting together, fighting all odds against the Queen. And that was kind of what we saw. And then we saw some more of Regina's backstory as it was important. We learned more about Cora and her motivations. There's like the central storylines we followed in the flashbacks. Going forward, and like they do serve as context, but we're more so following a cohesive story, I think, in the flashbacks as well as in the current timeline. Yeah. Whereas going forward now with the more, shortened arcs that are kind of one story, and then we move on to the next one. The flashbacks serve. Actually, I can't even say that's I can't even say that's how it is going forward, because I would say season 4 it kind of goes back to that. Like the flashbacks the flashbacks aren't just character context.
Mm-hmm.
They're more telling the story of of what we need context for in the current timeline.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's also an issue with Pan specifically, because we get that again in Zelina's arc as well. Like, we are seeing the context of what was necessary for her and what's happening, and we get all that, even though we don't know exactly why she's doing what she's doing and what she wants out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Pan, he's only in 2 of the flashbacks of this season. The arc, it's more context for our other characters, none for him. That goes further into, I've now talked myself into a massive circle. However,
if anyone's curious what our friendship is like, it's this.
It's this, yeah. But this also goes further into why I think you don't like Pan as much as you wanted to, and it goes further into my thing of, it's not just me and not liking this. It's not just my personal experiences.
I don't think it was written well.
I think it's fundamentally missing something that the other seasons all have. So I'm going back to that.
It's missing its potatoes.
Yeah, and
they gave us a lot of meat, but no potatoes.
Yeah, so we'll get our potatoes back in the next arc.
Okay.
Like,
I'm so glad you got that the way I meant it.
Oh yeah. No, I know what you mean.
Because it does give you the meat of the story, but you need the starch is important.
Exactly, it's important to make it a fully rounded meal.
Oh, I'm so using this for Agatha.
I love it.
Well, a certain episode is definitely the potatoes, which we needed.
Yeah, we definitely needed it, even though I was like, but nothing happened, and I want the characters I want to look at again. Mm-hmm. We did need the context.
We did need it. It was important.
We needed the context, but I stand by what I said, and I'll say this in the Agatha special. This makes no sense because we're saying absolutely nothing. But, like, I feel like I stand by what I said of, it could have been half potatoes. It didn't have to, we didn't have to have a whole bowl of mashed potatoes.
Okay, that's fair.
I stand by
roasted, but that sounds right.
Either way. Well, let's say I sometimes want to eat a whole bowl of mashed potatoes, but I just don't think it's not entirely necessary.
Wait, you don't just do it?
I don't make mashed potatoes very often by myself anymore. It's a lot to make for just me.
Oh, that's fair. I cook for a family of 4. Yeah, I get what you're saying, and we'll definitely talk about it more in Agatha, but...
Which also, to be fair, we're saying that as if it hasn't already happened. If you're listening to this when it comes out, the Agatha special will have been out for like a month and a half.
Yeah.
So you'll have listened to it.
We have to wait until the episodes are all out.
Yeah, we're recording this currently in October.
We'll get there.
We will get there. I did love Regina's, like, the nose boop to Henry when she tucked him in, because it was just, it's so sweet. It's so heartbreaking because it's not him, but she wants it to be, and she wants this moment, and I'm just like, and like Henry does, like, now that we've seen this, now he wants Regina to be his mother again, which is going to make everything we're going to see going forward so much more heartbreaking. Because next week, I'm really curious to see if the way that I watch this for the podcast, I'm very curious to see if I'm going to cry while I watch it, like with the constant pausing that I had to do to write things down.
Yeah.
But like, it's an episode that going home always makes me cry. Always.
This will be interesting.
It'll be, and I can tell you the reason why it makes me cry is because it has there's what happens in it is something that when I first started watching the show is something that I always kind of imagined is how the show would end. It's a very specific type of like closing of this arc kind of thing. And I think that's why it's so heartbreaking, but also it's again, I always cry at the same parts, and it's always focused on Lana's face. So, because she's a phenomenal actor, it's Lana. So, but I also just love throughout their entire honeymoon, David's still just trying to get in her pants. Cause like, if we're really we're talking about timeline wise, cause they have technically been married since the Lady of the Lake, which if I open my timeline, how long has it been for him that they've technically been married and likely not consummated the relationship?
Oh, this poor guy. No wonder he kept talking about it.
Right? Let's see. Lady of the Lake, I'm putting... Lady of the Lake is at 5 BCE, and they get pregnant on their honeymoon, which means this is like a year before. He's implying that they've kind of been married for 4 years without consummating.
I think poor guy gets turned to stone.
He gets turned to stone. I loved his line though of
just back it up, Snow White. Come on,
right? But I loved his line of now I know what Frederick felt like. I had never caught that before. That was a phenomenal line.
Give it up already, please. I mean, obviously she does now, and like
yes, clearly she does.
Man, imagine that. Like you finally you finally do it, and she gets pregnant. And, like, there's a span there where, like, you know, you're pregnant and you always want to do things. But then you reach a point that it's like, don't touch me.
Yeah.
Don't
Well,
touch me.
so
And then they're separated. Damn. Poor guy.
No, which makes the taco scene from 2:10 even funnier.
It really does.
Yeah, because 28 years is too long to wait between, and then everybody comes in and ruins the day. But because I think I want to say their honeymoon is a month. I don't remember if that's something I made up in my head or if that was actually from 413. I don't remember. I think 413.
It's at least 3 weeks of some good times.
Yeah, they had some fun. They had some times, and then
if it's a whole month, it's 3 weeks of some good times.
Exactly. At least. But I wrote down the Regina's interaction through the mirror before Snow realizes that she can use the shield to save everything.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, like, enjoying your honeymoon. I don't remember inviting you. And then I wrote down, only in fanfiction, dear. But I just loved Regina's whole thing of, what's the matter, Snow? Cranky because your prince is now a statue? I can barely tell the difference. You're really enjoying this? Immensely. And then she just little, like, finger wiggle.
I love her.
This is all your fault. No, dear, it's yours.
Like this showed a lot of her growth, though. I loved it because going back and forth.
It showed so much, not only of Regina's growth, but of their relationship. Because you've got this interaction where she says, and I have to thank you because you saved me so much trouble. I didn't realize I could just sit back and let you destroy your own happiness. You see that interaction. And then as soon as they cut finally to the vault again, Snow is the first one to run up to Regina to see if she's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the first time we've seen her do that. So, I don't remember actually how she ran up to her when they found her in the cannery, if that was her. But I'm pretty sure this is the first time we see her be the first one to go to Regina's aid.
Yeah.
And, like, it just shows the growth of that relationship and how far they've come from Regina using the mirror shield to be like a woman gossiping on the phone to that. So,
lots of growth.
Lots of growth. And my last for the honeymoon sequence here, he wrote down, how can I make it up to you? I've got a few ideas. You're horny charming, we get it.
Right?
Like, dude, we get it.
He's been waiting so long. It's like, just back it up, Snow.
According to my timeline, he's been waiting 4 years.
Man, that's a long time to wait.
It is a long time to wait. I mean, you know what? Everyone's got their own, reasons if they want to or not. Because there was that line, actually, same from Lady of the Lake, once the potion, like, once they cure the infertility water situation.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, we're going to have a child. And he goes, is there something you need to tell me? So that could mean maybe they have consummated. I don't know. It's just, they just haven't had a lot of,
true.
They haven't had a lot of time together. So it's been not as often as he would like.
Doing that in the middle of the woods can't always be fun.
Yeah.
When you're traveling.
Not everyone wants camping sex.
No, not everyone.
Again, only in fan fiction where sticks can't hurt you.
Yeah, no, like the ground is hard, yo.
Yeah, it's not very forgiving. That's why I never understand like that. That's one fantasy of like I mean, I don't understand a whole lot of like this is going into such a different route than I thought it would. As I was like, I don't understand like the whole like primal like if you're gonna sexy run, I'm gonna sexy chase you kind of situation, like through the woods kind of thing. I don't understand that yet. I've read it in multiple books.
Oh, there's that one book. I know hopefully I think you've read it and you're gonna know what I'm talking about because I don't want to name it. But there's a whole book that I read and the book was not bad. But they had a whole tent and did nothing. But then ended up in the woods and did. Yeah. And I'm just like, you had a tent.
Yep, I know what you're talking about.
Why? What? Okay.
They had so much time together, and yet they waited until they were like about to leave for battle, where they had like 10 seconds.
But like a couple of days before that, they had a tent.
Yep.
And did nothing.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm off my soapbox.
Sounds good. Do you want to give me your score for this episode?
Oh yeah, we do that.
Right ahead.
So I gave plot 8.
Okay.
Because it actually was pretty good plot. Like,
yeah,
I liked the Medusa storyline. I enjoyed. Mm-hmm. I say enjoyed. I'm glad they didn't kill Henry.
Yes, they did not shoot the kid.
They did not shoot the child. And I gave character and personal 7. This actually gets a 22.
Okay.
I think just maybe going back to Storybrooke and being away from Neverland helped a little bit. And like now that I have all the background info on Pan, I'm just like, just shoot him after the switch, please. Just get rid of Grandpa.
Mm-hmm. Great
God,
grandpa.
that's so. Yeah, nope,
Great
you're
grandpa.
right. That's so fucking weird.
Mm-hmm.
Can we just off great grandpa, please?
It's just stab Caesar. It's fine. Every time you say that, it sounds like we should all just stab Caesar, which is why I always say it.
I love it so much.
So I also gave plot an 8, because at this point, it's plot through the end of the arc. Like 9, 10, and 11 is straight plot. It's get Henry back, have this whole confrontation, resolution of this plot. We're moving forward into 12.
Thank God.
Like, it's all plot. And 12 is like, once Pan is dealt with, Pan is dealt with. Like, there is a little bit of having to fix what he did, but like, that's not like, it's a thing, but like, it's not a big thing.
Yeah.
So like, he may be mentioned, but like, he's not on screen, so don't worry about that. So this one, it's plot through and through. I gave character a 5.
Ooh.
I like how much of Snow and Charming we see the flashbacks, and how that, again, like, that one serves to show how well they know each other, and how much their relationships with everybody else has evolved as well as with each other. But it's just it's so much of the Emma's superpower being the boy who cried wolf, so much like this dramatic irony. There's only so many times we can use that same tactic. Just have her stop using the superpower angle of things, because like, it's very repetitive after what happened with Tamara. Like, Emma was right.
Yeah.
So it's just a little too repetitive. Rumpel again, really kind of heavily leaning on Belle to be his moral compass again, because he will do anything if she tells him to, but it's just, he needs to learn to have that moral compass for himself.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen.
I just hate Pan, so that's why I get a 5. And then I gave Personal a 7 as well. So this one got a 20. It's a solid episode. It's fine. I have some critiques of it, which is why it's not like a 7s across the board situation. But my last thing to say about this episode is just, Regina, why would you keep the scroll and all necessary ingredients for the dark curse in your vault?
Yeah, that's smart.
The scroll is one thing. All necessary ingredients, barring the heart of the thing you love most, because that's, different for each person. Like, why did we think this was smart?
Maybe she thinks it's because no one will actually give up the heart of the thing that they give most. Or,
that's true.
like,
I mean, it's a hard thing to sacrifice, and we'll see how that
goes. Still shocked she did what she did, because it's such a hard thing to do.
It is. And one thing that I will say, we will get the chance to see Regina apologize to her father. And that scene makes me cry so hard.
I'm gonna cry.
That's in 512. That's in the 100th episode. And it's a great scene to have in the 100th episode. Because that's a great thing to have in the 100th episode, because that's such a special milestone for so many shows. But to have the culmination of like one of the biggest things she's ever done and have it be forgiven is so poignant for that 100th episode, which also serves to my thing of that Regina's character arc is really the one we mainly follow. She changes the most, I would say, throughout the entirety of the show.
Yeah.
But she really needs that absolution. She really needs that forgiveness from her father, and she gets it. And then it's so beautiful, because she's such a good actor. But we have time for that one, because that one is, that was 512.
Okay.
We've got at least a year for that,
barring any other hurricanes,
knocking all the wood, everything. So we will get there, but more importantly, we will get through 3A.
Just a few weeks late.
Yeah, just a few weeks later than we were anticipating, because I feel like if we hadn't had the break, we would be at 3:30. Oh, that's really unfortunate.
Yeah.
If we hadn't had a break,
I'm bitter, man.
If we hadn't been at our break, we would have been at the episode that was this entire voice the whole time by now. Oh, that's really sad. Oh,
yes.
Sorry.
Yes, we would have.
Unfortunately. Well,
why do you think I'm so mad? I was so close, man.
Well, you'll get that soon enough. That's 313, so that is now in 3 weeks. But we're not taking any breaks. So yeah, 3 weeks.
No, we're not.
No, we don't have any planned. So then
Halloween is like in the perfect little, like your birthday and Halloween are kind of in like a perfect little spot.
Yeah, because my birthday's a Wednesday.
Doesn't get in the way.
Yeah, so we don't have to take off that week. Although we might record the Agatha special. We'll see how we feel. Because because I'm off the day after my birthday and the day after Halloween. So we have time to do that during the day if we want to.
Possibly on Halloween, but that depends on Halloween.
We'll see. Either way, the timing of when we record that matters not for you because you, dear listener, are listening to this on December 30th.
Have fun with that.
So you're listening to this right before New Year. So the fact that we're talking about Halloween means nothing.
Thank you all for listening. Join us next time when we discuss Bob's Burgers Season 6, Episode 11, House of a Thousand Bounces, and Episode 12, Stand by Jean. Don't forget to like, rate, and follow the podcast wherever you listen so you can be notified every time we publish a new episode. Follow us at OBDYK_pod on Instagram and TikTok. And if you'd like to join our Patreon, you can find the link with more details in our show notes.
This has been an episode of Okay, But Did You Know? A TV and media podcast. It was hosted by Lauren and Katie and edited by Lauren.